This is the Starry Night. You've seen it on posters, on mugs, on phone cases. It's everywhere. But I can almost guarantee that you have never actually looked at it. Because hidden inside this painting are secrets that took scientists, astronomers, and art historians over a century to uncover. And once you see them, this painting will never look the same again. June 1889. Van Gogh has voluntarily committed himself to the Saint Paul de Mausole asylum in Saint-Rémy de Provence, France. He is 36 years old. He has just cut off part of his own ear. He is broken. And yet, from the window of his room, he looks out every night at the sky. He is not allowed to paint outside after dark. So he memorizes it. He studies it. He obsesses over it. And one morning, he picks up his brush and paints the night sky from memory. That painting is the Starry Night. In 2006, physicists at the National Autonomous University of Mexico made a stunning discovery. They analyzed the swirling patterns in the Starry Night and found that Van Gogh had accidentally, or perhaps not so accidentally, captured one of the most complex phenomena in physics: turbulent flow. The same mathematical patterns that describe how fluids move through space, how ocean currents churn, how clouds form, how galaxies spiral, are present in the brushstrokes of this painting. Van Gogh had no scientific training. He was not a physicist. He was a man in an asylum, painting from memory. And yet, he got it right. To understand why this is so remarkable, you need to understand what turbulent flow actually is. It is one of the unsolved problems of classical physics. Richard Feynman, one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century, called turbulence the most important unsolved problem of classical physics. Scientists can describe it mathematically, but they cannot fully predict it. It is chaotic, unpredictable, and extraordinarily complex. The equations that describe it were not even developed until the late 19th century, years after Van Gogh painted the Starry Night. And yet, there it is, in the swirling clouds above Saint-Rémy, painted by a man with no scientific training. During one of the darkest periods of his life, the researchers who discovered this connection published their findings in the journal Physics of Fluids. Their conclusion was simple and stunning. Van Gogh's brushstrokes follow the statistical laws of turbulence with a precision that no other artist has ever matched. Not before him, not after him. Here's something that will blow your mind. Astronomers have studied the position of the stars in the Starry Night, and they are real. The bright star in the upper left, that's Venus. The crescent moon on the right, astronomers confirmed it matches the exact phase of the moon visible from Saint-Rémy on the nights Van Gogh was painting. He wasn't being creative with the sky. He was documenting it with terrifying precision. A man locked in an asylum, painting the universe with mathematical accuracy, without even knowing it. Now look at the village at the bottom of the painting. Most people assume it's Saint-Rémy. It's not. Art historians have confirmed that the village Van Gogh painted doesn't match Saint-Rémy at all. The church steeple has a distinctly Northern European style, more similar to the villages of the Netherlands where Van Gogh grew up. He wasn't painting what he saw outside his window. He was painting a memory, a home he could never return to. The village in the Starry Night is not a place. It's a feeling. And then there's the cypress tree, that massive dark figure on the left side of the painting. Van Gogh was obsessed with cypress trees. He wrote about them constantly in his letters to his brother Theo. He called them beautiful as Egyptian obelisks. But in European tradition, cypress trees have one very specific meaning. They are the trees of cemeteries, trees of death. Van Gogh placed one at the center of his most famous painting, connecting heaven and earth, the living and the dead. Make of that what you will. What makes this even more extraordinary is what Van Gogh wrote to his brother Theo during this period. In one letter, he wrote, "Looking at the stars always makes me dream. Why, I ask myself, should the shining dots of the sky not be as accessible as the black dots on the map of France? If we take the train to get to Tarascon or Rouen, we take death to reach a star." He was not just painting the sky, he was communicating with it. He saw the stars as a destination, a place you could travel to after death. The Starry Night was not a landscape, it was a map of where Van Gogh wanted to go. And the astronomers who verified his stars confirmed something else. The moon position in the painting matches not just the month, but the specific week of June, 1889. He painted this from memory with the precision of someone who had studied that sky every single night for months. From behind the bars of his window, Van Gogh wrote about the cypress tree in at least a dozen letters to Theo. He described them as a splash of black in a sunny landscape. He said they had a beauty of line and proportion like that of an Egyptian obelisk. But he also admitted they were difficult to paint. "The cypress is always occupying my thoughts," he wrote. "I should like to make something of them like the canvases of the sunflowers." He never did. The cypress in the Starry Night is the closest he ever came. And it is not a decorative element. It is the tallest object in the painting, taller than the hills, almost as tall as the sky itself. It connects the earth to the heavens. The village of the living at the bottom, the stars of the dead at the top, and between them, a tree that has stood in European cemeteries for 2,000 years. Van Gogh knew exactly what he was painting. He always did. Van Gogh painted the Starry Night in a single morning. One morning. A painting that contains real stars, real physics, an imaginary village, and a tree of death, all created by a man who was considered a failure, locked in an asylum, with no idea that 135 years later, the entire world would know his name. He sold one painting in his lifetime. The Starry Night alone is now considered priceless. Some things are too big for their own time. Van Gogh left the Netherlands in 1886, 3 years before painting the Starry Night. He never returned. He moved to Paris, then to Arles, then to the asylum in Saint-Rémy. But Holland never left him. In his letters, he described an almost physical pain when he thought about the flat landscapes, the windmills, the church steeples of his childhood. The village he painted in the Starry Night has that same Dutch church steeple, pointed, Gothic, northern. It does not belong in Provence. It belongs in his memory. Some art historians believe Van Gogh was painting a goodbye, that he already knew, consciously or not, that he would never see home again. He died 14 months after painting the Starry Night. He never went back to Holland. The village at the bottom of the painting is the closest he ever got. Which of these secrets surprised you the most? The physics, the real stars, the village he never painted? Tell me in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, about the hidden secrets inside the world's most famous paintings, subscribe, because we're just getting started.